Welcome to another Friday stream here, and my name is Jens, and I will be running you through our White Tiger server playtest and some of the changes in 11.0, and also gonna be showing up a little bit of a sneak peek with some concept art for some objects and new stuff that is coming in with the animal husbandry that we're working on in the background, and kind of parallel to the other minor / major updates along the way. Yeah, it's gonna be nice. Hope everyone is gonna have a good time, and we do have a slight potential hiccups, like a bit in, depending on, we have a bit of an auth update push happening, so we'll see if stuff keeps us connected or if it dies off. We'll see. We'll deal with that if that happens. But yeah, so Friday stream here at Strange Loop Games, and here as your lead game designer, and I think we'll just kind of roll with, take it away and go on. I'm gonna drop down chat, pop in here. Yeah. So anything and everything you see here is stuff that is work in progress. It's been a while since our last stream with John in it, and I completely missed to actually hide an element from that, which is my bad. That was slightly annoying. I can't unsee it now that I see it. Which one of you are it? There we go. Yeah, there we go. Stuff blocking the minimap. Yeah, so where are we now? Well, we're on White Tiger, as mentioned here. We've got the Federation cooking. So this server is our more kind of directed government concept with constitution already preset, and a lot of things kind of in order that has been reiterated on to help do kind of a server that utilizes everything eco has to offer in customization, laws, and the whole thing. So we have a preset government. Let's see if we can open up the G tab. No, not that thing. This thing. Oh, my UI scale is way off the charts. There we go. That might work. Yeah, so it has a preset government, and it has a constitution with a bunch of elective titles. It's got pretty strict setup laws and articles to deal with any and all factors that has been running around. Dennis started it ages ago. It's been a project. But yeah, so since the Tiger server is as complex as it is a superb playground for us to do things like testing out the civic system more rigorously, where we have kind of a player base that hops in, helps out, and deals with that on a much broader scale than your average single run servers. So just using more of the things, and we can see a lot of people are just going crazy at it. We see some farming going on. So this popped up at 6 o'clock, I think it is, so 3 hours ago. Toiling hard away at the dirt. So we're gonna grab somewhere to reside. And then we can shuffle on about some of the big balance changes that are coming with the 11.0 update. Some are still kind of pending, but most of them are pushed into this playtest build now. If you played on the Sea Otter one previously, we got some block cost reductions and some other big changes. Maybe do... Do we want to do a desert thing? No, let's... Maybe just straight out in the middle of the grassland. That's gonna be fine. So that backpack is over here. There we go. But while I make my way over there, let me... Where did my notes go? I had notes. Let's grab those. I like those. Those are nice. So for major block cost changes, a lot of the mid-tier late-game blocks have gotten their cost reduced. So we have corrugated steel has basically halved in price. It's gone from 2 steel cost to 1.5, and it has twice the yield now, so it drops out 2 blocks instead of 1. Reinforced concrete has been increased its yield to 5 from 4. Cement has replaced ashlar blocks instead of mortar, so that's going to be a big change. However, they also have their output increased to 2, and so a lot of them has basically been halved in cost. Composites are still staying the same. From the previous playtest, we've got a increase in base paint yield. Some lubricants been added to different vehicles, and we also have a new kind of early tier rug for hunters. So we got some nice stuff. That the rug also have some marketplace replaceables that we can look into as well here in a bit. Do I want to go? We do just limestone quarry and roll with it. Probably want to build that over there. That's some homestead, that's some homestead. And these guys seems to have a plan. Yeah, let's head over there and let's do a side thing here. Markers, drop a market. No, we do not have a total list for changes for like the full 11.0. Those are compiled once everything's kind of finalized. But yes, the Adobe is in. We also have a new object for housing, which is the plaques that allows you to give reputation to give direct housing kind of benefits and or culture benefits, depending on if it's a cultural property or if it is a regular residential property. A lot of flags so far. I think we'll do a little harbor thing going on. Do want to look over some of that plant generation. Hello monsters, hope you're having a good time and welcome to the stream. Love the changes to version 10, play 3 wipes very consistently. Yeah, we have, there's a lot of things coming, not just in this update, but I've got a lot of things cooking, and some of it is going to be more impactful than others. Animal husbandry and big hunting and butchery work is obviously going to be a huge thing for later on, and it's kind of in its own separate update that deserves more space than we can do for a smaller update. It also deserves more time to it. So Art is working on a whole shipload of objects and assets for it. And I got some concept art for you to have a look-see later on here. Where do we want? We just want to plop it down here on the coastline. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's do, since Adobe is on the topic as well. Here we go. Yes. So that pop-up is some of the new kind of introductionary things where, and I think that the other one might also be involved here. Let me grab some tools. Let's grab that shovel, pickaxe, hammer, and axe. And we can expand our property a little bit here. We want to grab this, and we want to grab these, and then we just want to kind of continue going downward here, I think. Yeah. And then we'll do kind of a garden thing. Well, let's do a thing here. And there is a little bit of a choppiness to it with performance-wise that we're looking into, see what's going on. So here we go. So if we're looking at the map, we have this little buckle thing here. So we'll do a little bit of a crafting thing, a little bit of a garden thing. As one of the new things that we have added with it is an outdoor room. And outdoor room allows you to either amplify culture or amplify regular housing points. If I can grab housing objects. So we have this new category, which some of the already existing things have been moved out because they weren't making sense to have indoors. Decoration still works. But yeah, so some of the things that you're familiar with, they're now giving actual value to being outdoor. There's also a general reduction of it because the industrialization of a property, or if you place industrial objects on it, it will cancel out any housing points that room would give, including outdoor, which means if you want to have power plants or generation or crafting tables overall, you're gonna have to have them confined or on a different property. Yes, we grab, it's a little bit of a trek, but let's grab some of those juicy tomatoes with us, cut on a tree, get some stone, and then we can get some work tables going. Can also get some oak seeds to plant some oaks nearby. Yeah, back here. In regards to being able to convert mechanical energy to electrical energy, probably not gonna happen in the way you think. But we are looking at ways to be able to acquire or kind of move over and transition the power use to electrical, rather than you being able to convert mechanical to electrical with like a dynamo transition thing, or an external dynamo, I should say. But it's definitely on the agenda to deal with when you have that tech progression over time. You don't get stuck in having to rely on windmills or water wheels when you're rolling around with excavators and skid steers and pouring out oil. So the crafting UI is getting some more polish to it. We're figuring out a bit about what we want to do with the project listing and how we want to deal with scaling project lists, as well as some of the general information. So have a bit of an oversight, but we appreciate any old feedback surrounding it. But it is something that is being actively tinkered with. And one of the big feedbacks that we saw very quickly was, where did my time go? We need some stone and we need some more wood. Speaking of where did things go, I think the server is slightly under heavy load. However, I think it is coming together quite nicely, because we are, I think it's 100 people on the server now. Someone can probably give me an accurate head count on from the server browser. But I think it was fairly close to something like that when I jumped in. So performance is still a pretty high factor for us, and as you can see, it is running a lot smoother, even though you have that huge quantity of people. Yeah, thank you, Elmai. Yeah, we're at 100 now. And can we now choose different kind of wood stone by crafting by simply clicking on the wood stone icon? Variations have a separate slot for it, but for selecting specific material type for tagged items, not for this update, but we do have some room for general improvements further along for the crafting UI, and improving the quality of life surrounding tag usages is something that we want to do. So it's really in there with I had the thing up. It is up there with a lot of the other things that we have planned for. Now we have a campfire. I believe that was in. Yeah, so a new thing that was added to kind of help out if you're starting anew, or if particularly for new players coming into the game. It will be, this feature will be toggled, the warning will be unchecked by default, which means it will show you if you're trying to play something and the property is unknown. It will give you a bit of a hint warning about it. That can be just toggled off by the checkbox. It will also ask you when you try to play something on unknown property, with a warning saying placing it on unknown land, anyone can take it, and you'll have to manually link any storages. And then you can just check that, proceed, and then you don't see the warning. Which hopefully helps out a bit for the new players coming in that might not help out a bit in terms of reducing early theft from beginners. I think is the warning kind of landing into. Yeah, so there is an alternative for it. So we have that with the warning, and then we also have this, which has a fix coming. It's not supposed to be read all over the place, just as a warning. So with that checked, it'll highlight any property that you own when you're trying to place it on it. So you can see, hey, I'm you know, placing it on my property. Now I'm not placing it on my property. So there are some features in here that we're experimenting a little bit with, both the visual feedback for it, but also kind of how the player perceives it, how it smoothly you can transition in between the two. So just adding more customizability for the clients to kind of get around some of those problems. Any plans to add guns for hunting in the future? No. That's the general answer. Firearms is generally something that we we stay clear of for a few factors. One generally lays in the whole kind of it's very disruptive in terms of making noise and clunking around with, you know, kind of having this semi-relaxed environment, and then it's 10 minutes later it sounds like a battleground because 20 people are running around with rifles. So there is sort of a feeling to the game that we want to preserve, which unfortunately hunting is taking the bigger bite out of, because firearms is not a thing. We are looking at dealing with additional general upgrades for hunting. One, it's gonna get like a general overall profession overhaul, but it is also gonna get more crafting stations, more stuff to do, and a bit of everything. So here we have one of the things. Kind of want to shift this around, and this is also on the subject of stuff being a bit experimental. The new crafting UI supports custom lists and filtrations, so you can add your own custom preset, call it that, and then when you have that enabled, you can add different things to that list. You can do that, and then I can select that custom preset, and it'll list me only the things that I have selected on it. So I don't need to search for things if I have, you know, once I'm involved in the game and I have more, these are the 4 main items I'm always crafting, so I don't want to have to search for them, I don't want to have to look for them, etc. You can just select them on a preset list, or you can just select the craftable, and that will show you anything that you have resources available for in your inventory, as well as your linked storage as well. But we're still kind of figuring out where we want to have some of these bars, where the buttons are going, to have sort of a smoother general flow in the UI. So this thing might be shuffled around, it might be just a toggle, show the scroll bar completely. There's still quite a lot of space surrounding it. But yeah, so plenty of room to improve and further enhance the new crafting UI. And we're adding revisions and doing things along the playtest, and get a lot of good feedback surrounding it that we're working on. Now that we get some tomatoes in here, actually let's do some fish. Grab that thing here and we'll do some shard fish as well. Let that run while we get some more wood. I have another kind of big thing is as a little bit of a sneak thing for hunting. Previously you have the statues or the stuffed versions of them. You also have the mounts that you can make, and we're introducing a new pelt type, which is essentially a rug, but it's available far earlier and made from hunting. And I don't think the icons are hooked up for it yet. I want to do that. I want to go here. Where did I throw them in? I threw them in here. Should probably be in furniture, but yeah. We had wolf pelt, bison pelt, fox pelt, and a deer. So they are alternative versions of the hair pelt. They have the same stats, the same resource costs, or carcass cost in relation. What other professions are on the roadmap you can talk about? Ooh, I mean, ranching is a new profession that's going to be coming with the animal husbandry. Sneak peeked a little bit about that with my design flowchart for animal husbandry way a few streams ago. So I think that's sort of in the revealed box. We do have another one that is going to be going under scientist that isn't really ready to be revealed yet, so I'm gonna keep a lid on that. But it's gonna be some more stuff in there, which is why some items are being shuffled around. So some cool things coming. Let's see if we can. We should be able to. How do we have a workbench? Let's get a stockpile open. Oh yeah, and something for the playtest people as well. There is a temporary kind of recipe to deal with scrap. In this case, tools in particular. And it'll scrap any tool that you have, which is on with the tools being fully degradable to the point where you kind of need to replace them. You need to have a way to get rid of the tools, and at the moment you deal with them by scrapping them. Now for a future update, might not be the next one, I am looking at recyclability. And yes, so bringing that on mention, are we gonna have some way to deal with wet tailings? Sort of, yes. So one of the things that I want to touch on there is general garbage pollution, waste, and recyclability. So that should be good stuff. Hey Pondo, hope you're doing well. Any updates to the planned skill/star system revamp targeted for 1.0? It'll potentially happen prior to that. I'm working on some general things. I've been breaking down. Probably have maybe 70% of the skills sorted out design-wise. Kind of what effects they have, what benefits, what bonuses, what they're intended to do, what they're intended to be used for. But the general notion is that crafting talents overall will still be just related to crafting, either if it's recipe unlocks, reduction in calorie, increase in calorie, reduction in time, increasing time, and so on and so forth. So the idea there is open up a lot more variables to be used in runtime, to allow modders to do a lot more cool things, but also just overall add more flavor to the crafting talents as a whole. Look at that beautiful fried up fish. Mellowed bed. What is in this new update? What is going on? What are we doing? Well, we have Adobe blocks, which we're gonna start off here with in a second. Now that we have a tool bench, I think I have a tool bench built. Almost have a tool bench built. Need some more stone. So we have first up for starting off, you have two critical new things. Adobe blocks, which is completely replacing the previous half and half baked tier 1 building materials. So you are no longer starting out with hewn logs, you're no longer starting out with masonry stones. You have a brand new material to deal with that. You also have degradable durability on tools. And also, as a nice surprise, we now have a new look for the tool workbench. There's some. Will we ever take a pause on adding new stuff and go back and fix some of the things that's been broken forever, like the logging skills? Well, funny you should mention that. I am working on redesigning a lot of the talents effects. So the majority of the interactive craft, like the in-world talents. So talents for things like hunting, mining, and so on, generally stay the same for the majority of them. There are a few that I am looking at completely overhauling. There's been a few experimentation with some of the talents surrounding logging. It's been a bit back and forth, up and down. And I'll have a separate stream for that, but it is one of the main focuses going forward from 11.0 to deal with a lot of that kind of remnant stuff that's been lingering on, that we just haven't really they never, it feels a bit wrong to say they're not really high priority on the grand scope of things, because it feels very unfair to the players. But from the development side, the logging talents, the tier 6 logging talents never really worked the way we wanted them to work. One of them never worked at all since the talent system was reorganized and reintroduced. But it's still very unfair to players to say that, so I'm kind of trying to be a bit diplomatic in terms of like design point of it, as well as development time, kind of what gets prioritized. But the talents are having a very high priority moving forward. That hopefully will bring some light on it, and I have some cool things for the logging talents in mind. So hopefully people will be pleased with them once they do come out. As for the planned skill star system, it's kind of tied in with talents, so that'll be kind of a cohesive update. I'm also looking into research as a whole. That may take some twists and turns, but we'll see. It's a lot of things happening, and they're happening fairly quickly. Yeah, it's stream time, so now they woke up. Let's see here. Let's grab. So with that new stone, with that new workbench, we can go through and show some of that. Some of those things. So in here, with the inside the new tool bench, we have a new recipe, which is coarse stones. And coarse stones is one of the overhauls that I've done to deal with repairability and consumption in the long term of server tools. So previously you just throw in a tool to a blacksmith in 10.2, but previously it'd just be smelter or advanced smelter, and you chuck it in there, it gets repaired, it gets shipped out. But the volume of tools is finite, so a world may only need 400 pickaxes crafted, and then that's it, done. You no longer have to craft another item of that type again. And these kind of static, finite scenarios is part of the reason why economies in the game tend to stagnate and kind of die off later on. And there's two aspects of that being addressed in formerly 10.3. I'm still juggling the numbers around. What is this particular update being 11.0, formerly known as 10.3. There's two aspects of that finite economy that we're trying to eliminate, and one of them is maintenance on crafting table as well as maintenance on tools. And that on tools is manifesting in a way of tools are no longer 100% fully repairable anymore. Every time you repair a tool, it'll degrade its durability, giving you less and less uses per repair. This is also this is doing a few things for us. One, we can kind of alternate what we want stuff to be repaired with. So previously you would have stone tools being repaired with stone, and then iron tools being repaired with iron, and steel tools being repaired with steel, and so on and so forth. Now you have any number of materials that is repairable can be applied to that tool. So at the moment we only have coarse stones unlocked, but you do have polished paste, sharpening steel, and some other items that will more efficiently repair your tools. So you lose less durability with that repair by investing more into the cost of repairing. Now anyone can make coarse stones. This also means that we can allow anyone to repair. No one is saying anything about the music. Have it in the background, toned out. Don't need to voice over it. Yeah, there we go. Padman comes in. Can you lower the in-game music? Yes, yes I can. It is done. So yeah, the repairability of tools is no longer linked to a specific item, but can be any number of items. We also have repairability and repair penalties tied in with specific professions as well for the benches. So the tool bench, as a neutral, anyone can access it, anyone can use it. It has a skill impact from the self-improvement skill. So as you level up self-improvement, you're gonna get reduced repair penalty at the tool bench. The grindstone, which people familiar with the blacksmith profession, is one of the tool manufacturing benches. The grindstone's repair capacity is improved by the actual blacksmith skill, and it has a higher percentage. So if you are a skilled blacksmith, you're gonna be repairing a tool at a better rate than if you were not a blacksmith, and not just on material cost, but the actual durability loss as well. So at here we need 2 core stones to repair it, and it will it will take the correct percentages as well, so you don't have to use up a tool completely to avoid losing durability. If I actually have enough material, there we go. Bam. And we are gonna change out, so we have like a red bar that represents lost durability, and a cat in box on the desk. So now the stone axe has gone from 250 durability to 235. So each time I repair it, it's gonna get slightly worse. Yeah, so on that on the scrapping thing in the workbench, the intention is for us to implement a new kind of scrapping methodology, but that'll be revolving the garbage update. So that'll be more of a distinctually recyclability thing. There's just not enough time to deal with that in this update. So temporarily you have a scrap tool recipe on the workbench, and it'll take any tool. So do be slightly careful about what you have this linked with. But it'll take... it's on 0.1 garbage per tool, so you can scrap up to 10 tools for 1 garbage. And the garbage you can incinerate in a blast furnace. So you turn the scrap tools into garbage, and then you just kind of burn them to get rid of them. Are you guys considering releasing an OST? I think it's been asked a few times. I cannot remember what the official answer on it, so I'm gonna say it's been looked at, but I think it's been kind of a bit of a mix between who owns the actual kind of licensing rights to the music. But yeah, hopefully that answered the tool scrapping stuff. So now what on earth am I doing? I am doing this, and let's build. How much do we need? 25, so let's do 250. It's a little bit too much. Do 100 maybe? Let's do 100. So we need, for the new Adobe blocks, you need dirt and you need wood. So it is quite a bit cheaper than the previous hewn blocks were in terms of wood requirements. Bob, yes. So at the moment, as I just showed, there is a scrap tool recipe on the workbench. That is sort of a placeholder. There will be a way to deal with that in the future, where it will know kind of what type of tool it is, and it'll kind of refund the materials based on the type of tools and so on. But there was just not enough time to go over some of the things that I wanted to get in to make that work properly. So at the moment you get a little bit of a sad placeholder recipe for just scrapping tools, so they don't overpopulate inventories. Will burning the junk make extra pollution? You burn it in a blast furnace, and it has a bit of a longer burn time for the actual crafting recipe, so the blast furnace needs to run for a longer time, which then means more pollution. Yeah, you're causing air pollution, which then gets transformed into temporary ground pollution when it settles down. Let's see, now with a bunch of dirt in there, let's go grab some more trees. Let's get that claim tool out of the way so we don't toggle in between that. Now, most clever thing I have done is not settling nearby conveniently choppable trees, as the oaks takes slightly longer to cut down. But it's not too bad. Probably need to look at that audio. That is a bit weird. I wonder, while I run back and forth and cut some trees just to kind of fill up these Adobe that's being built, maybe I should switch to maybe. It was getting a bit dark. Multitasking of plenty. Where was I on the subject? Maintenance. So you saw the tool thing. You have tools. They degrade now, so you don't have infinite tools, which hopefully gives a big business boom to the blacksmith. I know a lot of feedback surrounding that profession introduction in 10.2 has been, yeah, it's a little bit lackluster. It doesn't really have anything to do outside nails and that initial kind of tool provision. It was always intended to go along with tool maintenance and tool degradation as a main thing, so that would be its main source of income. It was just one of those things that we really didn't have time to fit it into 10.2, so it got pushed out. Now it's coming with 10.3 or 11, and I'll keep referencing it to 10.3, so don't quote me too much on it. So yeah, hopefully that should satisfy the workshop residents. Let's see if we get... we need some more dirt in there, I think. We need more labor. So one of the things with Adobe that was really important, was, for me at least, was to separate it out. 10.11.3. So one of the things that for me was really important when it came to the Adobe separation was to have a way for like the starting scene of being able to get a house rudimentary stuff up fairly quickly, to the point where you can start doing research, you can start placing down your carpentry table or masonry table, pick your skills, and kind of get stuff rolling out without too long time investment. And it also allowed us to disconnect it from the general economy, because if we made hewn logs super cheap, we'd need to scale that up with ridiculous amount of hewn log costs for the later recipes. So we were kind of in a catch-22 of we can't make it cheaper, so it's easier to kind of get going and get familiarized with them. So we decided we needed a new starter block to shuffle things around, and the Adobe was the thing that it turned into. And it also has a crush recipe. So once you're kind of transitioning over away from Adobe, you do have a recipe to compost it with farming, or on the farmer's table with fertilizer, as it's turning directly into compost fertilizer. And this is a balance in progress, so it's slightly overpowered in terms of cost relation to that fertilizer recipe, but there is going to be coming out a tweak sometime during next week to adjust that. But yeah, so once you're done with the Adobe blocks, you compost them out and you can use them as fertilizer. You get some of the dirt back. And hopefully that just helps ease the access of the early game a bit more. Let's get some of that dirt in here. And it's also kind of midway transitions in between getting rid of some of the dirt you're terraforming around. It still kind of allows you to get some building going. So here we have the Adobe, and let's get... I just want to build on top here, and then we just raise the terrain. Yeah, I think so. Let's do that cheeky. Grab markers. We want to grab that property, and we want to show the property in the world. The placeable Adobe is looking like this. So it has those little kind of bricks format. So this is what it looks like when it's in a stockpile. It just, the reflectiveness is a little bit off right now, which is why they're weird and green. So let's grab, I wanted to have that here. Maybe do, maybe. Do I want to do floor? Well, let's grab the dirt version and just, I'm just gonna outline the property a bit so I can see it without having to have the actual colorization on. There we go. And then we can disable that so we don't need to have that super green hue in there. Yes, let's grab that. And let's do a little bit of a thing here. Let's do line over down here. We get a bit of a bigger, little bit of a bigger base going on here. And then we grab that. How far in do we want to build it? Do we want to do the whole thing or just, yeah, let's do that. We don't have the whole property covered by it. That's fine. That is a very upset cat in the background. Do not mind him, he has been fed. He is just making noise because he wants attention right now. And somehow streaming is not giving him attention. Oh, I'm too hungry to do that. I may or may not have run out of food. Eat the raw tomato because I was careless. We wanna do add some work on that, and then we do the other fish. I know. A blasphemy. Just add that labor. We get the stuff, and then we can shuffle things around. So we want food in the small stockpile, nowhere else. Or actually, let's grab the campsite. We want to grab stuff out of the campsite and only deposit it in the campsite. And you do not touch the campsite at all. Beautiful. Now I should probably secure some food source here, but as you can see here, there is already a whole heap load of stuff. We have things available. Yeah, we have things available. Not a lot of things is available in stores, other than plant fibers, sandstone, and black stems. Apparently, the gatherers are already going crazy, which is quite nice. There we go. Let's do filter food. And select all, and then we filter all the foods. We have a whole bunch of mushrooms. We have a whole bunch of shard mushrooms. How far away are you? You are 700 meters away. That is slightly too far. Can we find a store that's not 700 meters away? No. I think all of them are. Click you. Where are you on the map? Oh. Yes, I'm over here. And that store is over there. That is bustling with activity. Yeah. I think that'll be on its own for a while. Let's just continue building here. Want to get our little flat going here. Didn't expect 10.3 to become 11.0 so fast. Comparatively, 10.0 felt short-lived. Yeah, I think part of the reason for that is 10.0 was crazily huge in terms of content, and it kind of wildly grew out of what the original intention for it was. So there was there was a lot of upgrades going into it, a crazy amount of such. While 11.0 has a whole bunch of new upgrade system stuff, like Unity version upgrades, VVice version upgrade, major overhauls and complete rewrite of the alt system. Which is another reason for why we cannot do a major version bump like this. So just quite a lot of backend systems that have been well rebuilt. It was way out of scope for still calling it a minor update. Hence why we opted to just kind of call it a major update, as that was more fairly accurate to what it is. So let's get some building going here. We do some outline of the house. We want some windows here. Let's do. Let's not make it 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3. Not really even in any way, shape, or form, but it'll do. That'll be one room, that'll be one room, and then we have 2 more rooms here. We're gonna need more Adobe. Very clearly. So one of the things that you are going to notice building with this is the walls are not really auto-connecting the way you might be used to. And one of the reasons for that is we are experimenting a bit with more player autonomy in how they are, or how you guys are building, and shapes and adjacency requirements in the auto constructors gets really rigid, really tough to allow the kind of freedom and flexibility that a lot of people are looking for when they're doing creative builds. So as a response to that, we're opting now towards more of a build it with the shapes you want in the directions for the shapes you want. So they are more of a nature on you place the blocks however you want, and so they're not gonna form up against other blocks and so on, which also means you need more autonomy in which block types you can select and more pieces surrounding it. So if you want corner pieces like such, you're gonna need to have to select that corner piece and build it. Now, not everyone is gonna be super thrilled with that, but I think it's one of those we kind of have to allow that autonomy and freedom in favor of it, because we do want people to be able to express their creativity in it. And you can still do pretty rudimentary boxes as seen here, without too much time spent on thinking about how you want to build it. Where can I find any info about update 11? We do not have a patch note release yet. That usually happens just prior to it actually being released, so we can have detailed, accurate information for it. But kind of the big giveaways is we have an in-game marketplace. You have tool durability now decays on each repair. There is a new object for allowing you to rate properties, so you can gain culture or housing bonuses by giving reputation points to actual buildings. You have crafting. A lot of the crafting tables now require a consumable item to run. What did I have? Need some doors. 4 doors, 6 doors, 4 doors. Let's go with that. Do I have enough food? I have some more food. Gotta be naughty, just consume all the tomatoes. No regrets, tiger, no regrets. Yeah, so maintenance is gonna come in 4 parts essentially. You have the first one, which is in 10.3, now 11. And that is tools and crafting benches. The second part of it is gonna be vehicles, and then the third one is gonna be world objects, so including like power generation, housing, furniture, and so on. And there's gonna be different degrees of effects. It's also customizable towards, and this should have been a T. There are 2 new settings for server-wise that allows you to adjust these. You can also do for the modding side of it, you can override recipes. You can adjust the specific rate for recipes individually. So if you want to have, say, the final goods have super high durability drain, you should get a miner's helmet or an oil lamp. Well, maybe along further down the line. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is true. It is a little bit dark. I mean, I can always do this. How bright do we get it? A little bit too blended out, but at least you guys can see it now, right? So I think we're. Do I want to do that? Yeah, let's do that. As I promised you, there is some of the things that we are working on in the background. So this is stuff that's gonna be coming out in relation to the hunting and butchery and all of that stuff for the animal husbandry upgrade. So I have a couple of concepts as well as some of the early renditions of objects in game. Which is, let's just pull them in here. I'm probably gonna get chewed out from Toby for showing you guys these. Yeah, some of the bigger, more complex assets that is revolving what will be skinning and tanning. So the whole leather work preparation kind of stages. So you're gonna be going through the process of you're butchering the carcass, you're grabbing different pieces, you're gonna have to process the raw hide through different steps to kind of get the finalized usable fur / leather. And these comes in different scales, so this is more of the industrialized mid-stage, later stage, as you can see from the steel bin. And the other part is some of that kind of tanning rack processing as well, over some of the new kind of how those barrels are getting used, and what their kind of purpose is surrounding it, and their general kind of bits and pieces that goes into the full asset. So this is how some of those concept arts goes from being kind of, I come up with an idea of, I want this object, this is what it's supposed to be doing. If it's a pure real life equivalent item, I'll pull up some reference images over how these different machinery is looking in different countries. Pass that over onto the art side. Art comes up with some amazing cool concepts for how to turn that idea into a visual item. Goes through the concept stages, and then once they have kind of a final concept that they're happy with, they'll start making that into practical pieces in Blender and getting that into the game. So here we have some of those early models of these, kind of playing around and testing them out and seeing how they work in game, and what degree of detailing we want for them, and so on and so forth. So some cool new scaled up things that'll go into like ranching, hunting, butchery stage of the game, to mitigate and kind of transition you over from not just hunting indefinitely throughout the entire cycle, but you are going to go over to both doing hunting as well as doing farmable animals. So hopefully that sates some what is going on, what are we working on post this update looking like. And we're starting to get the foundations here in place. I might be tempted to do some kind of follow-up post streams surrounding this, as well as we're getting through the playtest, because I am gonna have to play around a bit and see what's going on. Oh yeah, we have there is a slight bug right now with the repair. Once a tool is completely broken, it won't actually tell you the repair costs. It's being looked at. So general content in 11.0, we have the new Adobe blocks that I'm building my little palace with there. We have tools degrading completely. We have workbenches that is needing new consumable parts. Those initial parts are in the initial recipe for the workbench, so once you place the workbench, it'll have that starting part, so you don't have to buy a workbench and then go chasing after stuff to make it work. It'll work the second you place it down from the get-go. You have 2 new server settings to change out the cost and ratio for that maintenance cost. We have a whole bunch of balance changes. We have reduction in cost for some of the later tier blocks. Corrugated steel, reinforced concrete, ashlar has all had their cost reduced. We also have a new steam tractor attachment, which I don't think is mentioned that much, and unfortunately we're on Tiger here, so we're not going to see that in action, but it's essentially a mechanics era skid steer functionality for the steam tractor, and of course the painting. full block painting. So you can drop down a mixing station, gather some powders, mix together colors, and you can fully paint over blocks, built blocks I should say, not natural terrain, with a color of your choice from the entire RGB spectrum. A tumbling group called Adobe Acrobats. Let's see here. Let's get some tool repairs up running. There we go. So the cost for repairs and the usability, please feel free to come with feedback on it if you are on the playtest. Still tinkering a little bit about it now that we have that fully degradable tool durability. I can scale down the cost on general per item repair. So there's a lot of leeway there, and I'm kind of tinkering with numbers on it. So if you have feedback on it, just drop me a message or post it post it on the Discord playtest channel. Don't you think the amount of stone needed to repair tool is a bit excessive? Seems like it's better to craft a new tool instead. Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Some of those numbers are just kind of split over from the old repair costs. So they'll definitely be reduced in some of these capacities. And there's also the... still need 2 more. But yeah, I agree. They are slightly... They're also very too long to craft. I think I'm gonna cut them down by a larger amount. Probably reduce it to like 2 pieces to repair. And then reduce the cost of them by half, I think. There's some balancing tweaks going on here, which is why we're doing this in playtest. So these costs will kind of update in runtime throughout the playtest, as I'm adjusting and addressing some of them that I see. So if you want to help me out in spotting some of those things, like I said, just drop me a message or give me a nudge. Now, why no one has given me a nudge regarding that repair cost for the entire Sea Otter playtest is a bit of a mystery. Look at that, an Adobe door. Beautiful. People scrutinize on streams better, eh? Yeah, I think that might be the case. Or it's just, here's a direct line of feedback. Now you can voice your opinion. So maybe it's just more approachable when it's live, rather than trying to, I don't know, bother me on Discord. Which I don't mind. Said, just if you have feedback, just drop it in there, preferably in a structural, constructive manner. Doesn't matter if it's negative feedback or positive feedback. Just generally all feedback is good feedback in that manner. Do we have that Adobe recipe still going? Yes, and we almost have it. There we go, completely filled out with labor. Hoping to just kind of get the building completely done before hopping off. We've been going on for about 1.5 hours, I think. But I think since it is kind of a a little bit of a wrap-up thing. I might actually just hop in host locally so I can show off some of these other things just quickly before we kind of end the stream as a bit of a re-thing. Yeah, I think so. What are we up on? We're up on an hour 23 minutes. Let's just do that. So I'm just gonna hop out. Go over here. Let's do a fantastic, splendid name for a server. Hope everyone really saw the vital importance with naming that one correctly. Can move that thing around here. There we go. Makes it a little bit easier to read all the comments. Any unofficial ETA? Not really. I mean, as soon as possible is the general thing. A lot of it is going to boil down into the general feedback we get from White Tiger, as that is our kind of really the big playtest gauntlet to see if and catch any general breakage, especially when it comes to the database interactions, optimizations, and just bigger chunk volumes and stress testing. I'd probably have a more definitive answer once the White Tiger playtest has ended. I would just advise to stay around the Discord and keep an eye out for updated posts, because it is kind of going to boil down into if the White Tiger playtest just runs smoothly, everything works, things are going to be done quicker. If we run into a lot of snags and find a lot of problems with certain things, or get a lot of feedback on some items that we might really feel like, oh boy, you know, we really have to fix this. This is a really significant concern for players, and we also acknowledge that this is something that we are finding frustrating. That is going to be taken into account, which would, you know, further kind of push out and delay things. So it's hard to say at this moment in time, really, especially on the first day of the playtest. Station, table. It's table. No. There we go. We do this, and then we just kind of level off, so we have a playground here. So, recaps over some new settings that will alert you when you first start playing on a server that, hey, this plot is unowned. If you're placing it here, anyone can just steal it. And then you can toggle off and ignore that check, and it'll be looking like you are used to when you're trying to play stuff again. So the paint mixing station is kind of our big customization thing. You just give the storage just and also, speaking of changes that haven't really been super obvious, so we have a new chest type, and it is this wall-mounted version of a chest. Now, the wall-mounted version has a slightly bigger storage, which in hindsight, it is a bit of a sneaky thing. So I do apologize for not kind of bringing that up to light earlier. But it does have another 8 slots. Now, it does take up more room. So if we do this, for example, bam. It's not gonna let me place it because the wall-mounted chest is taking up those full stacks. The wall-mounted chest isn't the store rack we promised. No. So those things are still kind of in the pipe works. But now you have the storage chests kind of needs to be placed on the ground, and one of these days we are probably gonna do something with the general status tab of it, so you won't be able to access inventory if it is not firmly planted on whatever it's supposed to be planted on. But it is something that we're experimenting a little bit with and kind of poking around with if it would work or how that would look and so on. So this Satsuki was saying the wall-mounted chest isn't just a premium thing either. No, so there is a variation of that. So here, workbench. So in here we do chest. We have that wall-mounted chest, so it has a default vanilla recipe that anyone can access, and it is slightly more pricey, which is it's leading into as an option later on, and it has same costs for it, but it has a slightly different look, which is in here. We do this. See if this works. Got that, and oh yeah, it still dealing with that actual placeable start stuff that's not properly updating in runtime. So there's hence why things are still in playtest. They're still work in progress. Premium blocks, furniture ready for demonstration. The Far East lumber has most of it done. There's still the icons for the block forms are still missing, and there's a couple of blocks I believe that are still missing some textures, but they are mostly done. So if you do want to test them out and see how they look, you can do that on the playtest at the moment. So you have a whole array of different kind of wall pieces, sections, looks to them. On that whole subject of just allowing more patterns, allowing more flexibility and creativity for it, and we're also kind of utilizing a new way to do block sets internally and structurally. So the Far East lumber set has also been kind of a template guide that we're working on for how we want to add new block sets and how we want to rework old block sets to also work similarly too, moving forward. And it has a lot of just cool different shapes to it. You got some flat roofs, some squares. Yeah, so this is a replacement / variation of lumber blocks. So this is a tier 3 with the changes with Adobe. So these are coming in sawmill, sawmill. So these are coming in here. Yeah, so the new tier 3 is the old tier 2. And anything that is a store, a paid asset / store purchased item is also having a little indicator on it. It also has a blueprint. Uses either it uses the original item in its recipe, or it uses the exact same ingredients. So there's no stat difference from it, just kind of outlook and design of them. Painting table, let's enable it. Painting table on it, you add colorants and you add base paint, and it'll output that type. So you mix up colors and shades to the way you want them to. You can save them up, so they're saved in a palette. So you can do something else, and then you can swap around, and it'll remember how many of them you were saving them with. Quick multiplier if you want to make a whole bunch of buckets similar to them. Once you have a bucket of paint, let's do paint dev tool. Give me paint tool. Give me the paint tool. Give me paint. Give me a what is the thing called? I can never remember the format of it. Paint dev tool? Dev paint tool? There we go. Dev paint tool. That is the order of it. Are there multiple ways to create the basic pigments to give alternative sources of getting paint? At the moment, I just have them from one single source. So you have some that are flowers, some that are minerals. They're not just all minerals or all plants. They are a mixture of them. But I am looking at kind of what source ingredients I want to allow multiple different types of sources for one specific color. So yellow at the moment has creosote or sunflowers. Magenta is coming from urchins. Cyan doesn't have a natural recipient of it, so it is made from a mixture of the powders. Blue is coming from huckleberries, and green is coming from copper, and red is coming from iron. And then white is coming from trillium. Black is charcoal. I am also leading on to just dropping in regular coal in here as well as an alternative recipe. But I kind of like the idea of having charcoal be kind of a unique purpose for it, rather than just another like coal dump kind of thing. But yeah, so once you have some color, you would drag the color into the slot for paint, and you can change out the thickness / coating of it, which will change out the transparency of the paint type. And then this is only for the dev tool, so just as a kind of a creative hot selection thing. We just grab red, for example, and then we go to these things, and then it's just a matter of painting it over. And then depending on the opacity you have selected, or the coating, it will gradiently change out the thickness of them. And now the brightness is hurting us a little bit. There we go. Don't need glowy red. So if you just want a slight tint and reinforcement, you can change it out. And the same thing. And as you have the whole color spectrum when you're mixing tables, it can go absolutely crazy. Now, one of the restrictions or limitations, I should say, in this update is that we're only adding the block functionality for it. We are intending to also extend it to objects, so you'll be able to do colorization for vehicles and world objects as well. So, you know, crafting stations, the whole shebang. Did we determine if painting has a trigger, or if it will? It will have a trigger. It's on the board somewhere. Not sure who has it assigned, but I'll make sure that we have a painting trigger for it. You can prevent it. We also have Mike is working on a bit of a shuffle around in the store that does some cool magic for determining which paint you're selling, so it'll associate the color with a name, similar to how it's dealing with it in the painting table. So here it kind of pulls it together as gray, it pulls it together as slate, and it'll switch around depending on which nuance it is or which hue it is closest to, and then adjust that name type for it. So that is how it'll be presented in the store in a way. So it'll be, you know, plum, and you'll be able to look over gradients of selections for that. But that's currently in the works and not yet deployed on the playtest. So that's kind of the painting thing in a blitz. Now that we have the sawmill here, I can show you the maintenance part. So any of the later help color blend this and educate people on how to express colors accurately. Yeah. So for generally the more modern crafting tables, i.e. the ones past the initial tier 1 stuff. So masonry table doesn't have it, carpentry table doesn't have it, but the later professions do. Like butchery table has coarse stones as ingredients, and most of these have them. And they simply work by you grab it, slot it in. As mentioned, once on the first placement of the object, it will come with one of these. It's a set durability reduction per hour, and this is adjustable by the server. So there is a multiplier for it, and there is the hourly rate percentage for it. From a modding perspective, you can also override it and do specific recipe increases as well. So once it's running and crafting, it'll keep burning up that durability. Once that durability is out, you're gonna get a notification saying, hey, this crafting table has run out of a part. Would parts modules also change the tiers of the table? It'll be related to the module, but it is not yet in. That's something that is gonna... It's a bit technical to do, and it's been on the board for a while, but we might have some leeway in time to start getting into that. And for anyone that's being rather confused about it, it's a planned module rework where when you slot in upgrades, they'll be permanently locked to the table instead, and it'll change out the properties or requirements of the table. But as mentioned, it's not yet being worked on actively, I should say. As the main focus right now is just bug squashing and polish for this update, and then we'll have some follow-up streams. And I think the there's a lot of topics that is coming up that I think a lot of players are going to be stoked for. So a lot of fun things coming. Now it went dark again. Time noon. Give me back daylight. Thank you. We have, let's see here. We got some overall balance changes. We got recipe changes for vehicles now require lubricant, which is a new item produced by butchery from tallow, or oil production from oil refinery. Pop one of these bad boys down. We have this here. Lubricant will also be one of the major essentials in the vehicle maintenance later on. Which, if any modder is interested in it, the system do support adding parts to the vehicles, but once the part runs out, it'll completely disable the vehicle. Which is why it's not in the update, because the intention is that it's just, depending on which part of that vehicle breaks down, it's supposed to just worsen the performance of the vehicle, not just outright stop the vehicle. But that's on the board and worked on, and is part of that second batch of maintenance features that is going to be reigning in the vehicle part of it. Speaking of vehicle, steam tractor. But part of that vehicle maintenance stuff, so you don't have that. Once you reach skid steer excavator, suddenly you have no cost for resource acquisition, which is a major problem. Ooh, look at that. We even had the icon in. Fuel. So one of the big quality of life changes that is coming in is a new vehicle attachment for the steam tractor. Now, there has been a mod, a steam skid steer mod floating around for quite a while, and having more utilitarian attachments for the vehicles that have modules to them just made sense to me, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and thankfully Gabriel helped out on sorting out our vehicle controls, because the module system and the tool components were not playing nice. But now we finally have a attachment on the tractor that allows you to do some basic terraforming, where you can dig in and you can dig through and do some dirt stuff. Now there are a few limitations with this that I want to bring up, and one of the things is on the playtest right now it does not have its full restrictions, but it is not gonna be able to dig mineable material. So you're not going to be able to use it exactly as you do with the skid steer or excavator. But it is going to be able to take up anything that is diggable, which means general overworld terraforming, road construction, and everything else is going to be a lot more smoother. And we teased a little bit about technology that will be going along with it later on, and that being explosives, that is going to be kind of complementing this in a future update. With the idea there is that you get into a hillside here, you drop down some dynamite, you blow it up, and it turns into gravel, and then you can just scoop it up with the tractor, and you can do some significant quick terraforming without being obstructed by the fact that it's mineable materials. So there's a lot of cool fancy things planned and coming. There's another quality of life upgrade for all three of these diggable machinery that is underway at the moment. Yeah, Pondo. It's one of those kind of materials that it's high value, but digging over a prolonged period of time, people didn't really like it, and it's generally always been kind of a tedium. Same thing for mining overall, which is also why we're looking at explosives seriously. With the increase of clay requirement, as well as general resources overall, and it adds that big kind of resource gathering improvement in the middle stage that's really lacking, since you go from doing pickaxe actions from day one to being excavator, and you have no general upgrade in between. Same thing for shovel. You go shovel, 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 bam, excavator. Suddenly tedium is gone. But we're seeing kind of a big player drop off in between there, which is why we're focusing a lot on just content addition and filling out a lot of the blanks that we're having, partially because some of it has been placeholdery, some of it we've been wanting to fill with content but haven't really been ready to work on aspects that's necessary for it. But hopefully this will make it feel like, you know, we are looking at a lot of the feedback and maybe convince some people that we are acting on the feedback we are getting, and it is something that is important to us. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. As I mentioned, there is also gonna be another quality of life thing that's gonna be added in, and hopefully that gets merged in the next week. Works similar as the rest of them. You have 2-3 blocks depending on how wide you go. But as mentioned, it is not going to be digging minables. It is only going to be dealing with crushed stuff. It can pick up rubbable and whatnot, so you can just go nuts on with a pickaxe and then just collect stuff. but it has some future tech in a later update that'll assist with dealing with minables. But yeah, so one teeny little upgrade to the excavator, skid steer, and steam tractor scoop will be popping out on the playtest, hopefully next week. And I'll give a nudge on when that is out on the Discord, so keep in tune there. Have anything else on the board in general? Yeah, so lubricant being a thing in all the general vehicles. This includes the wood cart as well. We got some new ingredients here for the repairs and everything surrounding that. So polishing paste and the sharpening steel is kind of the prime things for tool repair without losing durability on them. And then we have we also have a significant change to milling and paper requirement on the research table, which laboratory, I can't remember if it's on the laboratory, if it's on the research table itself. I'm running with the Tiger mods since I was testing out stuff. Do we have them in here? Yeah, so any and all research papers are gonna be for the modern tier is gonna be requiring ink and paper. Ink is made in the paint mixing workbench. Go with the ink recipe. There we go. So it is using charcoal, glass, and oil. And that means that you're gonna have some pretty hefty requirements on some of the later tech from a little bit of a wider perspective. And ignore the garbage. It'll come, but it's not in yet. Which paper was a tier 1 skill and implemented earlier? Yeah, but I have some ideas for research in general, so that's its own entire different beast and stream. But for now, I'm just kind of filling in and adding some of these requirements for the later stuff to kind of backfill and that makes sense. Oh yeah, and I can actually do server UI since I'm on the local one now. There we go. So inside difficulty settings, is that merged yet? It's there we go. On balance stuff. So on balance in crafting, you have a maintenance decay percentage, which is that percent rate for hourly decay of crafting stations, and you also have a direct multiplier for it. And the reason why there is a multiplier for any server admins and whatnot is this only changes out the base value, so the default value that is set on everything, but you can, from a modding perspective, also make adjustments for recipe per recipe requirements. And the multiplier just allows you to globally affect all of it, regardless if it is a custom change or not. So that is 2 new variables that is going into the balance config. It'll be noted on the patch notes as well, but that's in there. And now I have a very restless cat that decides that the power cord to the TV is something that should be poked at. You do? Yeah, so we have the painting stuff is CMYWK, white black stuff, as well as RGB. So you have both the positive removal and the positive additive and the negative removal. But yeah, I think that is generally what we got in store. There's a lot of crazy things. Think of the farmer's table and the mill. The mill will get a power upgrade. It's not in yet, but I will have a look and see if the asset is actually ready. If the asset is ready, I might drop it in the update as well. Maybe. But yeah, there is a gasoline slash liquid fuel powered version that Art has had in store for a while. Maybe we'll see. Maybe it'll come in as a surprise and shock to everyone. Oh, look at that! Mill gets a tier 5 requirement. We'll see. We still have a bunch of things to go through for the playtest. I might do some more frequent streams now that the playtest is running. To chat with some of the other stuff. Maybe I'll get a guest or one of the other devs on. We'll see. But for now, thank you all for watching, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I know I'm gonna be absolutely sore tomorrow after an airsoft game, so need to get some prep done for that and some sleep. So catch you all on the next one, and hope you have a wonderful weekend. As said, take care and good night.